There was once a seeker who carried a silent fear within him. Not the fear of failure, not the fear of loss, but the fear of time itself. He had seen people grow old, weaken, and eventually disappear. And no matter how much they achieved, time always seemed to take everything away. One day, unable to ignore this question any longer, he went deep into the forest in search of someone who might know the truth. There, under an ancient tree, he found a sage, calm, still, as if untouched by time. The seeker asked, "Why does the whole world fear death so much?" The sage slowly opened his eyes and said, "Because they have forgotten what your ancestors once knew, that death is not always something that happens to you. Sometimes it is something you allow." The seeker was stunned. "Then what about aging?" he asked. "Is that also something we accept?" The sage picked up a stick and drew a straight line in the soil. "This is how you see life, from birth to old age." Then he curved the line backward. "But what if this line could bend?" The seeker's breath stopped for a moment. The sage continued, "What if I told you that your date of birth is just a number, and your body has the ability to move not only forward in time, but backward, from old age toward youth?" The seeker leaned closer. "Inside your body," the sage said, "from the base of your spine to the center of your brain, there exists a hidden pathway. Through it flows a subtle fluid, a powerful essence. If this is understood and used correctly, wrinkles can fade, white hair can darken, and even at the age of 100, a person can feel the energy of youth." The seeker whispered, "Is this real or just a myth?" The sage smiled. "This is not imagination. This is an ancient science once known in this land, a science of total transformation." He paused, then said, "This science was known as Kayakalp, a process not just of healing, but of reversing the very effects of time on the body. It was spoken of in texts like the Rigveda and preserved through traditions that modern science is only beginning to understand." He continued, "To understand this, you must first understand what aging really is." The sage drew two small points in the sand. "Modern science says that at the ends of your chromosomes are structures called telomeres. As you live, breathe, and experience stress, these telomeres shorten. And as they shorten, you age." He looked up. But thousands of years ago, texts like the Sushrut Samhita and Charak Samhita described the same process differently. They called it the depletion of ojas, the vital essence of life. Kayakalp was designed to restore this ojas, to rebuild the body from within, and to push it back toward its original state of balance. The seeker asked softly, "Then aging is not natural?" The sage replied, "It is not absolute. It is a process, and like all processes, it can be influenced." He then told him an ancient story. There was once a sage who was old and frail. His body had almost given up. But divine healers, the Ashwini Kumar, gave him a rare method. Through that, his body transformed. His skin became youthful again, his vision sharp, and he regained his strength. The seeker's eyes widened. "That knowledge still exists," the sage said, "but only in fragments. What you know today as Chyavanprash is actually a small fragment of that original Kayakalp process. What appears to be a simple health tonic today was once part of a far deeper system of regeneration." The seeker felt something awaken inside him. "But remember," the sage said, "this transformation does not begin in the body." "Then where?" "In the mind." The seeker looked confused. If you believe you are aging, the sage explained, your body follows that command. But if you realize that your body is not just flesh, but energy, your biology begins to respond differently. In fact, the sage said softly, the deeper truth is this: you are not the body at all. The body is something you experience, not something you truly are. And the moment this realization becomes real, not just an idea, the fear of aging begins to lose its grip. He continued, this belief is not imagination. It signals your brain to release chemicals that repair your body. The seeker listened in silence. Right now, the sage said, millions of cells in your body are dying, and millions are being born. In fact, modern science discovered a process called autophagy, where healthy cells consume damaged ones and convert them into energy. Your ancestors discovered this long ago through fasting and discipline. In deeper practices, the sage continued, the body is taken into a state where melatonin and serotonin levels rise so much that the body enters a hibernation-like state. This was known in certain traditions as kuti pravesh. In this state, external stress disappears, and all energy is used only for healing. The seeker thought of restarting a machine. Yes, the sage said, exactly like resetting a system. But this power must be handled carefully. The seeker asked, then, how does one begin? The sage pointed to the center of his forehead. The source is already within you. He explained that within the head, a subtle essence constantly drips, something referred to in yogic texts like Hat Yog, Pradipika, and Shiv Swaroday Shastra as Som. In ordinary life, this nectar falls into the digestive fire and gets destroyed, and that is one of the reasons we age. The first step is to preserve it and allow it to nourish your entire body. How is that done? The sage closed his eyes and took a slow breath. There is a specific combination, he said quietly, a sound and a way of breathing. It creates a vibration so deep that even your DNA begins to respond. The key lies in your breath. In the animal world, those who breathe fast live shorter lives, while those who breathe slowly live longer. The Rig Veda suggests that life is measured not in years, but in breaths. When you slow your breathing, your body shifts into repair mode, and even your DNA begins to heal. But breath alone is not enough. The body also needs the right fuel. The sage paused. But not all food heals. There are 3 specific foods that do not just nourish the body, they ignite a hidden fire within it. The same fire that melts toxins, rebuilds cells, and awakens transformation. He continued, one of them is Amla. Modern science recognizes it as one of the most powerful natural antioxidants, capable of neutralizing free radicals that accelerate aging. Another is Trifla, and then the powerful combination of ghee and honey. But remember this carefully. If taken in equal quantities, they become toxic. Only in unequal proportions do they nourish the deepest tissues. Ghee lubricates the body, and honey carries nourishment deep into the cells. Over time, the sage continued, your body and mind collect waste. When you enter deep silence, something begins to change. This is what some traditions call manomay Kayakalp, a transformation not of the body, but of the mind itself. Because until the mind is renewed, the body continues to follow the same old pattern, like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. In that silence, a special fire is born, Yog Agni, a force that burns away the old and gives rise to the new. But there is danger, the sage warned. If this energy rises too quickly, it can overwhelm the system. How is it controlled? Through sound. Modern science did study on visible sound and vibration and concluded sound shapes matter. This science is called cymatics. When vibrations are applied to water or sand, they form precise patterns. Now imagine what happens inside your body, which is mostly water. Ancient sages encoded these vibrations into simple sounds. When chanted correctly, they resonate through your entire being. When you chant Om, it stimulates the vagus nerve and changes the vibration of every cell. But chanting alone is not enough. There is a final physical lock, Khichdi Mudra. When activated, hunger reduces, energy increases, and the body becomes something far more efficient, and energy flows without resistance. The seeker stood still for the first time. He was not afraid of time, because he had realized the story was not fixed. But tell me one thing, the seeker asked softly. After all this, can a human truly become immortal? The sage looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. In the Kathopanishad, he said, there is a dialogue between a young seeker and the Lord of Death. That dialogue reveals a truth most people are not ready to hear. Immortality is not about keeping the body alive forever. It is about going beyond the fear of death itself. The seeker felt those words sink deep within him. When the fear of time disappears, the sage continued, stress disappears, and when stress disappears, the body begins to heal on its own. That is the real secret. The seeker stood silent, absorbing everything. Then, what should I do now? He asked. The sage replied calmly, you do not need to escape the world to begin. You can begin Kayakalp right where you are. Start with this. Give your body rest through fasting. Even once a week or a simple 16-hour fast begins the process. Wake before sunrise in the stillness of Brahm Muhurt. Sit with the rising sun and breathe deeply. The light you receive is not just external. It awakens something within. And above all, practice gratitude. A complaining mind creates stress chemicals, but a grateful mind creates the chemistry of healing. Eat your food as medicine, not as entertainment, because your body is not a machine, it is a temple. The wind moved gently through the trees. The seeker lowered his head in respect. But when he looked up again, the sage was gone. Days passed, but something within the seeker had changed forever. He was no longer chasing time. He was understanding it. It is said that there are still places hidden from the world, places like Gyanganj and Shambhala, where beings exist who have mastered this science, living far beyond what we believe is possible, not visible, not reachable, because the world is not yet ready. And beyond all this, there exists one final mysterious step, a knowledge so powerful that it was never meant for everyone, a process where consciousness itself can leave one body and enter another, a science whispered about in silence, feared even by those who understand it. The seeker often wondered, should such doors ever be opened? And maybe. Some doors are closed for a reason, but one truth remained with him forever. Every breath he took was not just passing time, it was creating life. And perhaps that was the real beginning.